Well, let me ask you this from a philosophical perspective. We saw what happened, and we'll get into the Dallas thing with Luka, a trade that shocked not just the NBA but the sports world in general.
Right.
With an organization saying that, our 25-year-old, once-in-a-lifetime phenom, we're not willing to do this. We're willing to give him up. And he hasn't been through kind of the injury cycle that Zion has been through there at the Pelicans. Is there any fear from within? Again, I don't want to put you in a situation, but outside noise about that. What is the time frame for making a decision with Zion moving forward with his continued, not that he can't play, but with his continued injury history?
I don't think there's a fear there as far as separation is concerned from Zion, from the organization. It's this, Jimmy. Growth isn't linear. The light comes on for different players at different times throughout the course of their career. Like, none of us learn the same. We all learn differently. And what this performance team and coaching staff is trying to come up with is a game plan that works best for Z. That's what they're trying to do. Find a game plan that works best for him. And by what I mean when I say works best for him, I mean what keeps him on the floor longer in a consistent manner. If you look at this season, he's averaging 28 minutes a game. But in those 28 minutes, he's averaging a career high in points. In rebounds and a career high in assists. Last year he played 70 games. But that gets overshadowed by and it's warranted, overshadowed by the fact that this Pelicans team won 49 games, made it to the play-in game. He was having a great game against the Lakers and then pulled his hamstring and wasn't available for the playoffs. Like, the thing that sucks is he's such a good kid. Amazing young man. And what happens in this social media era, it's so easy to come down on the kid and just go hard on the kid, all these other kind of things. And I know for me, seeing this young man every day, getting on the bus with him, getting on the plane with him, all these different kind of situations that you're put in with him, I just want to see him succeed. I know what that young man's capable of. You ain't seen many of these. I'm telling you, God is in heaven, and there are certain guys that he says, listen, man, I'm going to give you a little bit more than I've given everybody else. Talent, agility, strength, power, explosiveness, soft touch around the rim, all these other kind of things. And once the health comes to, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. But I'm going to take my player's hat off and go to the organization side. At one point, do we say this may be delaying our total progress as an organization? And this is something the front offices always talk about. Okay, what is our time frame? Okay, we know we have a 4 to 5 year period to really grow with this core group. Okay, but if we're not getting consistent minutes from this group, we have to look at it. Philly going to have to figure out what they want to do with Embiid. I really think, after this year, because of what's going on. And I would hate to see it, but I do know, and we've both been through trades and moves and what we just saw, that organizations' timelines sometimes accelerates based on some external pressure and maybe some internal pressure as far as where the organization has to be. And I'm wondering, as much as that game plan is there, that, and this is not a question for you to answer, and I'm just thinking out loud, this understanding how organizations think, that, okay, we've exhausted everything we can from the patient's perspective, from the physical perspective, from getting Zion back to where we really need him to get to, but yet something still happens. Is this the time, and I'm not saying this year, but maybe next year, depending on what happens, that we cut the cord and move forward? I don't know. It's just my observation, just thinking of both sides of the table. And I know you work with the group, and I work with the Lakers. With the Clippers. And there's certain things that I say, and I know because I work for the organization, that I got to be careful with. Okay, but that's my fear, not my fear, but my thoughts when I think about Zion and the organization.
For me, I feel like it's a matter of time. And again, call me an optimist. call me biased. I feel like it's a matter of time before it comes together for this young man full circle.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen
everything.
it a few times.
I mean, because we saw when he came in, he lost the weight. He looked bouncy, looked good. The question is, can his body hold up consistent? Not just one year with 70.
Right. The thing is, no one knows that.
Yeah.
Because, when you say, can you think of, so if I was to ask you, Jimmy, give me someone in the history of this league that has all of the physical attributes of Zion in one person.
Ooh. I mean, I would say Charles Barkley. Because you got to think about it. I mean, Charles could rebound, run, jump. He could shoot it. He had high IQ for the game.
For sure. I will say this, though. Zion's bouncier than Charles Barkley.
Yeah, but if you said attributes. I'm
not saying, but that's a part of the physical attributes.
But we're not saying who got the highest vert. Charles was bouncy. He's not as bouncy as he's not as bouncy. We know that.
So you know what's difficult is when you have a one-of-one, and this is not a conversation that's just excluded to Zion. When you look at somebody like Victor Wembanyama, right? There are certain guys throughout the history of the sport that are one-of-one. So now it's almost like these guys become, you can't train them the way you do everybody else because you've never had anybody like them. Like all athletes aren't the same.
Well,
all of our bodies
all body types are different. Training is going to be different.
Right. So like when people say, well, you know what, Greg Popovich coached Tim Duncan and David Robinson. You know what, Tim Duncan and David Robinson aren't Victor Wembanyama.
Exactly. Totally different.
They're not.
Totally different.
Right? As far as their body type, the way that they play. So you have to take a different approach to these guys. And listen, when you have a performance staff that's trying to put in place a plan for a young man that is 6'5" and that bouncy, that athletic, and that explosive, that plays with that amount of power, it's a first for them too. So I think this is a situation, and again, this is not simply excluded to Zion. You see this with different players throughout this league, where performing staff, training staff, and doctor staff, and even some coaching staff, they're learning on the fly because this is a first.
Check out new episodes of The Jim Jackson Show every Thursday. Watch on the Rich Eisen Show YouTube page. Follow the show on Instagram @Jim Jackson Show, or listen wherever you get your podcasts.